we definitely are in need of an upgrade.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cool.
They're good. I like them because they're fluffy.
They're fluffy. They can all hear that.
Oh, okay. I'm just keeping it interesting. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I know this is your second time on because you're on early, and you were in prep when you were on, right?
I was deep in the middle of prep.
Yeah, you were I think you were 3 weeks out or something.
Yeah, I just remember being hungry a lot and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but also just feeling really in the thick of it at the time.
You're just like, I am right in the depths of this.
Yeah, it's like I was so ready just to be done with prep. But I think looking back, it's kind of like I really enjoyed that process, even though it was really challenging. Yeah. So looking back and just feeling like shitty during prep, but then having these like amazing feelings of dopamine looking back at it, it's kind of like a weird contrast if you think about it. Yeah.
Cool. So to introduce you to everyone, because not everyone's going to know who are you? What's your background? Well, where do you come from? Give us a little bit of insight as to who T is and the athlete's mindset.
Okay. So my name is Tania. I am 35 now, and I have just come out of my first competition prep in 2025. A bit about me, I started taking the gym seriously maybe a couple of years ago because I was overweight, I was unhappy, I was dealing with addiction issues, food issues, body image issues, and I just wanted a way to initially just get healthy. And in that process of meeting you, Rhys, really found my love for training and the gym, and consequently got introduced to this world of bodybuilding and competing, and it's just something that I never thought that I would ever see myself doing. If you asked me, 5 years ago, would I be jumping on stage in a sparkly bikini, I'd be like, sorry, what? No. And then it's just kind of history from there. So throughout that process, and because I'm studying a Bachelor of Psychology, I'm pretty much almost finished. I'm going into my postgrad soon, which is very exciting. I am studying psychology with the intention to become a clinical psychologist, and so would be specialing in something like clinical sports and performance as part of that. So what I did throughout prep was start to document my journey, and it really kind of took off from there as a way to not only share what my experience was, but start to integrate some of the learnings that I've been, learning about throughout my course.
I will say you were pretty good at, in prep, noticing some of the things that you were feeling and thinking, and then rationalizing them logically. I don't know what the word is, but you were able to logically rationalize them and work through them from what you've learned, which obviously other people, if you haven't had to do that or they don't have that knowledge and you're like, why am I thinking this? Why am I feeling this? Then it's obviously that's the coach's job, but you made my job a lot easier because you just did it yourself.
Yeah, I could self-manage to a certain point, but then it gets to a certain point where you do feel like you are so consumed by your emotional response to everything. And it's really hard to see through that sometimes, especially when you're in the thick of it. And I think that's where the athlete's mindset really kind of started to fill what those gaps were for me throughout that process. And I think moving beyond that, it is going to become more of an initiative to share those insights about psychology and mindset in more of a science-based and clinical perspective, as opposed to, the kind of bro science that we're seeing a lot happening online. So it's really applying that to a bodybuilding sense and then a competition sense as well.
Yeah. You do it in that sense as well, but then it's even for the people who aren't stepping on stage, the people obviously specialize in that, but I think it's helpful for even the people who are going through a cut or going through their first kind of weight loss journey, like what you did. So everything you did up until when we said, cool, we're going to prep, there was still a lot of mental stuff that you had to go through to be like, okay, cool, because you lost 25 kilos?
25, yeah.
So which 15 of those was in prep. We still lost 10 to 12 probably outside of that, which obviously had big mindset shifts and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of what you talk about can be helpful to everyone, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there are so many different layers to getting fit and getting healthy that are not necessarily as talked about. And a couple of the things that I did touch on as part of my documenting my process and
Getting
my
fit and
journey.
getting healthy are two different things, right?
Yeah, two separate things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely like a layered process.
Yeah.
So when you think about, okay, but it's linked, but it can also be separate. So getting fit is, okay, yeah, we're getting our bodies to a point where our physique is strong and we're feeling healthy. We can push and we can pull, but then feeling healthy is in terms of your lifestyle and how you implement that as like your everyday.
Yeah.
And
100%.
and there's so many.
Because you can look
Yeah.
good and not be healthy.
100%. Yeah. You can be.
And that's obviously that's the epitome of bodybuilding, because obviously when you are that lean, you're obviously not quote unquote healthy, even though it looks great, you're nowhere near healthy. Most people have to go at least 5 to 10 kilos above their stage weight to be like, okay, I'm a human again. So definitely, if for anyone who doesn't know, if you haven't done it, if you step on, like, just because you are look that way when you step on stage, that's definitely not a healthy body weight. Some freaks can hold it there, and like some freaks can just stay lean year round or whatever. But for the general population, you're going to need to get to a body fat percentage where you might not look the best, but that's where you operate the best.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a misconception that skinny or really muscly is the healthiest, like the epitome of health. And it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
So that contrast kind of flies in the face of what we're all taught and what is mainstream knowledge out there for health and fitness. And I think we are starting to see that shift now at the moment with more of a focus on health and wellness, but there's still a fair way in terms of getting the right information out there in the mainstream that we're just not seeing at the moment.
I think more in the bodybuilding space, there is a lot more knowledge around, like, or at least coming from the coaches, that like, hey, as soon as you're done with this, we need to get you out. Like, you can't stay here forever. There's obviously there's different phases and stuff, but people who have lost people who have lost a lot of weight in the prep or had to get extremely lean compared to, depending on what division they've done. The goal there is to get them out as soon as possible. So I've got Zach, who's competing, and he's lost 32 kilos in a year, which is a fucking lot.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's huge. That's
huge.
Massive.
And I said to Zach today, I said, listen, as soon as we're done, like, I need to get you 7 kilos above stage weight within the first 5 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
If not quicker. And he's like, okay, cool. So I'm going to pump his calories up, but he's going to have hormones, hunger signals, all that sort of stuff flooding his body. But we need to, because where he is right now isn't healthy, right? So.
And essentially, like, it's a controlled starvation. I hate to use the word starvation, but that's essentially what it is when you're getting down to that kind of low body fat.
Oh, it is.
And then,
bodybuilding is a pretty dumb sport. Like, when you think about it, like, we literally starve ourselves for 30 weeks on end just to step on stage to hope some other adult says that we're the best one there.
Yeah, it's like, we want you to cover yourself in really thick layers of tan, put your hair in, like, do your hair and makeup, make yourself look really good, shine on stage for 2 minutes, and then that's it for the year. Thanks, everyone. Go home.
Or for the men, it's, I need your wife to shave your ass cheeks, shave your back, and then wear a G-string, and then flex, and then hopefully you're the muscliest person on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have to compare you against about 10 other people who also want to be the most muscly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. It's like a really big kids sport. Yeah.
It's a pageant battle.
It is really weird when you think about it a lot in detail, but
Anyway, so going on your journey, so you competed.
I competed.
Cool. How'd you go? Tell everyone.
So my first season, I competed in 2 different federations. So it was ANB and NBA. They're both natural federations. I'm a natural athlete. And in my first show, which was the New South Wales state titles, I amazingly took home the bikini title, which I was super stoked about.
So you won the overall.
I won the overall. And with that, I got a really nice trophy. I got some medals and a big box of cookies, which I wasn't allowed to eat until after the second show, which was the NBA Nationals show, which was a couple of weeks after, I think. Yeah. So that was a much bigger show. That was a different federation.
Do I think that giving a big box of cookies to someone who's just won a bodybuilding comp is the right thing to do? Probably not, but anyway, you got them.
Yeah, it was debatable.
You were literally holding like 6,000 calories, and I was like, just, whoa.
I was so excited. They smelled really good.
I know, I smelled them as well.
I was like, oh, okay, I can't eat them yet. So I put them all in the freezer, as you do.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate your validation. So the second show for NBA Nationals was a much larger show, and that was from competitors across Australia. So it was held in Sydney, and that was kind of my first taste into like a big like competitive bodybuilding show. So I entered in five different divisions, and I came out placing in all of them, and I got a first in a swimsuit over 30s category. But it was very competitive. The quality of the athletes was insane. It was amazing, and the experience was really good. So just that backstage experience was kind of hectic. It was a bit chaotic, but I think the day just goes so fast.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, you kind of think, oh my God, like that just happened. You get on stage and you're doing your routine and it all just goes by so fast. It's just a blur. And you look back and you've got all these nice photos and think, oh my God, I did that.
Yeah, that's why everyone who, like, everyone who's competing right now, like, they're like, should I get the mini pack? I'm like, you're only gonna have striated glutes once. Like, if you're on stage, get the photos. And even my photos and videos, I wasn't like incredibly happy with, but I look back now, I was like, okay, it wasn't that bad. Like, it was all right. Like,
oh, you definitely have like a distorted version of yourself when you look in the mirror as opposed to what you actually look like in the photos.
Yeah.
Because you're so just in it and you think, oh, I could look a little bit better, and it's just a little bit of that dysmorphia that you see in your brain. But then I always recommend getting like the videos and the photos as well, because like you do that once and you're like, cool, I can look back and have a memory there.
And they look sick.
Yeah.
So leading into that, which I wanted to go into a little bit more today and talk and get your side of things, having been through the 25 kilo weight loss, the prep, the reverse, how are you traveling mentally? How are you going with your body image? Obviously body fats had to come up. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit about giving insight as to what goes through your head coming out of the reverse and some of the things that you've kind of had to work through?
So the reverse was an interesting process because for such a long time, my biggest goal was to lose the weight. And so when you're in that mindset of, okay, you're in deprivation mode for a couple of years, you start getting used to that, and you're like, you can see the numbers going down. You're like, yes, that is an achievement. But then being at such a low body weight coming out of that, and when you see the scales then going up, it really forces you to change your perspective of what that actually means in terms of health, because being at that really low body weight is not healthy. So for me, seeing myself being really lean was like, oh my God, I did it. I lost the weight. Like I'm peak fitness, but I actually wasn't like peak health, because obviously at one point I lost my period. And so that is a sign of, okay, your body's literally functioning on empty.
Yeah.
And so
which, just to touch on, is quite normal. To get down to the lower body fat levels that you need to compete is quite normal. Some females lose it quicker rather than others, but you lost it nonetheless, which obviously isn't health, right?
No, for the long term, it's not good for your like women's reproductive systems. And so to start having the scales go up again, it was a bit of a struggle. It has been a little bit challenging just to see myself putting weight back on again, even though I know it is what is the healthiest thing for my body to do, to get my systems, running again, to build strength back up. And I think it was tougher, I think probably building that back up, because I'm still having to control what I'm eating, not to binge. There was a period where I did binge on those cookies, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was great.
I have
Yeah. They all came out of the freezer and I ate them and I have no regrets and they tasted really good.
We got we got to the recommended body fat level a little bit quicker, but we got there nonetheless. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, and I see it all online a lot, is to just be really aware of what you're eating, because I didn't want to rebound back to pre-show to the highest body fat that I was before. That was my worst fear.
Yes.
And so going back up in a healthy way was a bit of a struggle, because I didn't look as lean. Like, I felt the most confident at my most leanest, even though I was hungry and I was just a lot more emotional. So seeing myself kind of putting weight back on in areas that I didn't want to see it come back was a bit of a mental struggle. And I did have to do some reframing and exercises. So what reframing is changing the way that you perceive something. So it's like, oh, I'm getting fat. It's like, actually, no, instead of I'm getting fat, I'm getting stronger because I can lift more. I have, I don't look as thin in the face. So it's like, oh, my face is getting fat. It's like, no, you're just getting back to health. All your systems are going to be functioning properly. So it's just,
We made, I made it very clear, because we wanted to grow. We need to put on more muscle, especially when I can be competing in the future and stuff.
Yeah.
So the goal for us was to get strong.
Yes.
Get back to being strong as fuck. Which then the shift has to go from, because at some point, whenever you go through a cut, I've got heaps of females and that are looking to lean out, which is great. But at some point, you can't stay there you can't do that forever, right? So at some point, we've got to reverse things. And a lot of the time, I find that if you change the mentality around how the physique looks to how do you perform, how's training, do you have energy, how do you feel, how's your performance in the gym, did you hit more in the hip thrust, cool, then that will easily then start to skew things around, rather than, because it's a lot harder to see muscle growth than it is to see body fat loss.
Yes.
Right? Like, it is almost impossible to see by the naked eye unless you are kind of looking at yourself and you're like, okay, cool, I'm growing a little bit, but you might see that once every 3 to 6 months. Whereas fat loss, you're seeing it week to week and you're like, whoa, look at this line, look at that line, look at that line. And it's like dopamine. So the dopamine's still got to be there, but it's got to come from somewhere else, and it's got to come from your training, your performance, and you have to skew the mind to be like, right, I need to eat my rice cakes and my honey so that I can lift heavy as fuck in the gym and get an awesome pump and have a good session.
100%. Yeah. And I think what bodybuilding is a really good exercise in delayed gratification, because you can't see results just happen overnight, and that's not what happens. And I think for women, especially when you want to build muscle, and I hate when that term get toned gets thrown around, because it's like, you're not getting toned, you're building muscle, is that women don't want to be bulky, but at the same time, that's how you build muscle. Like, you're going to put on a little bit of extra fat in order to put on muscle. So that's just one of those things that, as women, especially growing up in the 90s, 2000s, there was that
Your era was a small bum, like skinny waist, mean girl era.
It was awful, and it really taught a lot of women to have shame about actually having a little bit of fat on their bodies, even though that was a totally normal thing.
I do find that, like, I've got a few women who are above 35, and their mindset is, it's very hard to shift. And they shift around, but it's like, it's almost ingrained, like, hey, just because you can't see capping, like, I need to see flat stomach, I need to see capping in my delts, I need to see this, like, well, we also need to build some muscle at some point. Like, we need to eat a little bit more than 1,400 calories at some point. Right? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I know you've done incredibly well with the reverse, so well done.
Thank you.
Nice and strong. So I guess talking about the athlete's mindset and that sort of thing, let's say you've got someone who, whether it's a competitor or whether it's someone who's just deep in a fat loss phase, what sort of thing, and they're starting to see themselves in a negative light, or they're starting to struggle mentally, what sort of things would you recommend? What sort of things did you do when you were in those stages that you would recommend from your psychology background, and then also as an athlete as well?
So there would be a couple of key things that I would do. Firstly, it is really understanding that bodybuilding is not your sole identity. So it's a regrounding exercise. So you really want to start with what your goals are and listing out goals that, one, are achievable, and that you can do within the time frame that you set. And that really helps you to have your guiding star. And now the second thing is understanding what your motivations behind those goals are. Are they more externally based? So are you doing it just to please someone else? Are you doing it for like a social clout thing? Or are you doing it because I want to be popular? Or are you doing it as more of an internal motivation?
So what's your why?
Yeah, what's your why? And I think there's a very important distinction that you need to make, that, you know, to be really successful, that why needs to come from within as opposed to external sources. And I think that's something that you have to really get clear on, and just know that you want from the bottom of your heart. And then you can kind of move forward from there. So you can start setting what your kind of tasks are going to be. And then I would say keep a journal, which is what I did throughout the course of my prep as well. Start to document each week or each day. It doesn't have to be long, just how you're feeling, and just take a note of what's going through your mind throughout the time. If you're feeling like shit, then write it down. And then at least you can say, this is what I'm feeling. It doesn't actually have to reflect reality though, but it's just kind of your body processing emotionally what is happening.
So kind of own the feelings, because I know a lot of people in a cut, or whether they're in prep, obviously hunger is a thing. And if you haven't dieted before, and some people who start dieting, they're like, hey, I'm really hungry. And the first initial thing I'll say is, that's really good. That's an awesome thing to feel, because it means that it means it's working, and your body, and you know, we're probably in a deficit. Obviously, you shouldn't be starving, but there's got to be a level of discomfort there, and leaning into that discomfort and go, okay, I'm hungry. We're here, cool. This is where we know we're on the right track, and almost getting not a gratification, but being like, okay, it's like a checkpoint. Like, okay, cool. I'd be worried if I wasn't hungry the whole time at all. You know what I mean? So leaning into those feelings and feeling them and be like, okay, they're there, but they don't rule who I am. You know, they don't rule the day. I'll just work through it.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can then start to separate out, you know, your feelings from, you know, objective reality. And there are going to be periods where you start to feel like, oh, I'm failing, or if you make a mistake, or if you pig out one night and you think, oh my God, I've ruined everything. It's like, no, you just need to take a step back and realize, like, it's just a blip. And then you need to just recalibrate. So come back to what your original goal is, and then just start again. It's like, if you drop a glass of milk, you don't throw away the whole bottle of milk because you dropped that and you just had to mop it up. It's like, no, you just start again the next day. And I think that's really important to remember, especially when you are feeling deprived through that prep stage, and you need to re-anchor yourself. I think, it's a really important thing to remember.
Yeah, sweet. Cool. And that's one thing about prep, is if anyone's been through it, you'll know that you learn a lot about yourself and how far you can push. Yeah. But then a lot of those things as well, it's essentially prep is just fat loss phase. It just, you know, competitors just get that extra little 6 week, go the extra little 6 to 8 weeks, more than what normal people would get. But all those things can be used in normal when you're trying to diet down, whether it's photo shoot or whether it's prep. You're going to feel the hunger, you're going to feel the fatigue, you're going to feel like you don't really want to train, but owning it, go, cool, this is where I'm meant to be right now, this is a good thing, and kind of be like, okay, cool, working through it, that's how you're going to get through it. And then also making sure that, like what T said, is that if you make sure you have a strong why, is almost a guaranteed success. Because if your why isn't very strong, or you're doing it for to please others or other things, and that's where you're going to fall away.
100%. And I think you touched on something really good before, which is you're not going to feel motivated all the time. And this is where building like a consistent routine and structure is going to help prop you up when you feel like shit and you don't want to train. You basically train yourself that, okay, you set yourself that routine because it then becomes easy to fall back onto just your systematic kind of routine in your brain where you don't have to actually think. Once you build that structure, you can say, okay, at 7 a.m. I have oats, at 9 a.m. I go train, at 12 I have lunch, afternoon, and then when you do that each day, it becomes easier and you stop having to actually use like your mental capacity to think about each of those things. And that just becomes automatic. And then it frees up your mind mentally to think about other things.
And just on that, like, so there's people who, and we all know them, who just love prep and they just will love to be in prep. And they, like, I love prep. I'm prepping again. I'm doing this season. It's like, relax, bro. You don't need to, like, like, I get you love bodybuilding, but I think those people obviously just crave the routine and structure, which, shock horror, you can actually roll into your normal life and you don't have to fucking be in prep to have routine and structure, right? So prep teaches you that, hey, if I just structure things, then I actually get a lot more freedom, but you don't need to be in a bodybuilding prep to actually have that freedom. You just run through normal life with the same freedom and structure and actually still experience those ups.
Yeah, and I think that's one great thing.
Like, there are fucking people who just like love prep, and I'm like, bro, like, I love bodybuilding, but I don't love prep. Like,
yeah, you want to enjoy the process of actually building muscle as opposed to just dieting down so much. But some people, and I can think of a couple of ladies off the top of my head who
I think we're thinking about the same people. Yep.
Yeah, in prep all the time.
Every season, going again. I'm going again.
Oh, it's incredible. Good for them, but it takes a lot on your body.
Yeah.
But what I can say with prep is that it really, and I didn't actually realize how much I benefited from this, was just learning discipline. I realized I wasn't very disciplined in my everyday life, and I think that having that structure there was actually so beneficial, and it just took out all of like the extra thinking, because I tend to be a little bit chaotic if I don't have a structure. I have a calendar which I use to the T every day, and that helps keep my mind in check, just because otherwise if I don't have something keeping me accountable, then I'm just going to go off the rails.
Yeah, 100%. So moving into where you're at now with your build and stuff like that, do you want to talk about some of, obviously we've spoken about some of the negatives with putting on body fat mass and stuff like that. Talking about some of the positives though, what are some of the positives that you've seen, experienced coming on the reverse, moving into, I think we're in a bit of a mini cut now, but like it's just a short one, but we're essentially in a build. What have you seen? Have you experienced things?
I think a couple of things. So the improved sleep. Yep. So I'm definitely getting at least a good 7 hours of sleep a night. So that's one thing that was impacted a lot during prep, is just much like reduced or broken sleep. My mood is way better. I just feel a lot more calm. I can use my rational brain a lot better, as opposed to just feeling emotionally driven all the time. Of course, like being able to lift heavier is always great. I love being able to just go into the gym and just feeling really good about pushing heavier weights, just because it makes me feel like I'm making progress and it's like I'm getting stronger.
Do you want to talk about your progress?
For sure. So
what was the one thing you sent to me this week that was like, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's
So I have fallen in love with the belt squats. I think it's a great exercise. And I had these really beautiful pair of long tights on, and which I got straight after my last comp. And I wore those, and in the middle of my first set of my belt squat, I got down to the bottom and I felt this pop and a rip, and I couldn't finish my set. I literally got to the bottom of my set and I was like, oh my God, my pants have ripped. I've like split my pants open. So I had to unbuckle myself, and I'm like manically checking the back of my tights going, oh my God, where is it? And because they had kind of like that same texture as a stocking, it was like a hole and then a massive ladder where the butt crack was. And I was like, well, I can't not finish my set. So I put my long t-shirt on, and I'm glad it was like a long kind of cover up. And I finished my set with my split pants, and it was great, but it made me realize that I probably needed a bigger size of pants.
And I think my response was, that's awesome. It means that the glutes are growing or some shit. And
Yeah.
I wasn't even remorseful of the sense of us. I was like, oh, I hope it goes. Like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. So glad that we're growing, which is great.
Yeah, which was exciting because I did do like a couple of side by sides, and I was like, I've got a bunda. Hey.
Which is good. So definitely, once you've done, obviously coming out of prep is a different thing. Once you've prepped, or once you've done your cut, you finish your cut, you need to now aim to be, I know our other coach Shelby, her whole motto with her girls is strong, not skinny.
Yes.
Right? You can obviously be both, but aim to be strong, not to be skinny, and that's how you're going to get the best results. And at the end of the day, you're going to look leaner when you have more muscle mass. Let's be honest. Like, if you don't have the muscle mass there, you're just going to look like a stick. If you actually build some muscle and stay in a healthy body fat, doesn't mean you have to get overly fat and eat like an asshole. Then that's where the physique's going to look the best, when you're strongest, when you're moving more, and then you can actually look back and see, look, I've actually built some muscle.
100%. And it's also, think about the longevity as well. When you're building muscle, you're doing it also, you're doing it because you want to look good, but at the same time, you want to be able to have a decent quality of life later on. And they say that.
Did you hear that thing about the quad thing?
The what, sorry?
There was like a study that's come out and said that if you people with large quads are like, it's like a 50% more blah 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 of increased life expectancy or something. Don't quote me on this. It's a genuine study, and I was just like,
oh wow,
fuck yeah, living forever.
I love that.
Yeah,
hell yeah,
we're living forever, Queen.
Yeah, quad. Yeah, team quad. I'm here for it. Yeah, but that just goes to show that the more muscle that you build earlier on, the better off you're going to be later on in life. Because one, you're going to be able to move more, you're going to be more agile, and it's supposed to be better for your better for you cognitively. So it helps to prevent that cognitive decline as we get older.
Yeah, cool. So, speaking about training stuff, obviously the food is a major factor. Run us through what your day of life, brief overview of what your day of life looks like in prep and what it looks like now out of prep. I think a lot of people kind of get shocked about the differences or the lack thereof. So run us through what your day kind of looks like in prep and out of prep.
All right, I can give you all of the amounts. So for breakfast, I was having 20 grams of oats with 60 grams of frozen berries. It was usually blueberries, but I sometimes swapped it out with raspberries.
Yeah.
And then 20 grams of protein powder.
So you have protein oats for breakfast.
Yep.
What was number two?
Number two was chicken and broccoli for lunch with spinach.
Cool.
That was 120 grams of chicken, 30 grams of spinach, and 150 grams of broccoli. And then for dinner, so those are 2 meals. For dinner, I would have 110 grams of steak. I think it was 20 grams of tomato, 30 grams of spinach, and then I think it was 80 to 100 grams of pumpkin.
Cool. And then with the protein shake and a banana in between or something, right?
Yeah, it was a protein shake, but sometimes I would just mix that in with the yogurt that I would have at the end of the night. That was like my sweet treat.
Right.
That was 120 grams of Greek yogurt and then some strawberries. It was like a very minimal amount, 80 grams of strawberries, and then there was 20 grams of almonds.
Yeah, cool.
That was my full day on prep.
So then out of prep, and I hope that this is going to go the way I want it to go. Yeah. What does your day look like?
So we've got more oats. We're still doing the protein oats for breakfast.
So you still got protein oats? Cool.
Yep. I'm putting the banana in it. I've also got the frozen berries in it as well. So it's just more volume. And then for lunch, we've still got chicken and broccoli and spinach. We're adding a bit of sauce with it as well to keep it tasty. We've also got a pre-workout meal, which is great, which is a bowl of Cocoa Pops, which I never thought I would be eating cereal again, but secretly I'm so loving
You
it at
love
the
it, yeah.
moment. Yeah, it's so good. And then some carbs if I am doing like an intense leg day as like an intra workout. And then we've also got snacks like berries, nuts, and grapes. And then for dinner, we've got steak and salad. So I've pretty much kept like the same meal plan, but just extra volume. So we've got lots more vegetables, like more, a little bit more meat, and then we've got shakes, and then some yogurt at the end of the day.
Awesome. Which is exactly where I wanted this to go. So
Yeah.
if you had said, "Oh, I've changed everything," I would be like, "Oh, fuck, that didn't go the way I wanted to go." But so that's exactly what I wanted to hear, is that essentially your food outside of prep is relatively the same food, right? And same with if you're going in the cut or whatever, you're going cut maintenance, growth, whatever. It's pretty much eating the same food, we're just changing volumes up, right?
Yeah.
And it's that having that structure allows for an ease of transitioning into phases really, really easy. So if you're going to cuts, like it's not like a big life-changing thing. It's just like, cool, I just change my rice to pumpkin.
Yeah.
Or I just change my, I just don't have banana in my oats, I have raspberries or something because they're a little bit lower calories. Like it's a super easy thing. There shouldn't be a big difference between your normal food to your prep food. Shouldn't be a big difference between your normal food to your cut, whatever. It should be relatively the same thing, just some other swaps to make things really, really easy for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so, like, we don't need to overcomplicate food. I think as long as you've got that good balance.
Well, let's touch on
and the
this.
volume. Yeah.
Because I vividly remember getting a message from you, and you were still a bit of a recipe queen at the start. Mm-hmm. Do you remember what you asked me?
It was if I could cook a shepherd's pie, I think. Was it?
Yeah. And I said, listen, queen, just eat your fucking mince and vegetables. I think it was very politely. I was like, hey, not really, like theoretically yes, but I'm gonna say no because of X, Y, and Z. And I told you food focus and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
How has your mindset changed from being the recipe girly to kind of keeping food simple, still tasting nice, but simple?
I think it's probably worked out for the best in terms of keeping that structure and just uncomplicating things for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably made me a little bit lazier at cooking in the kitchen now, just because I'm like, I'm cooking the same things every day. And I mean that in the best way possible, just because it actually frees my time up to do other things rather than spending so much time thinking about food, going to buy out all the different ingredients, then cooking it, and then all that kind of stuff every day. I didn't realize how much time it actually took doing all of that and just the mental gymnastics it would take for a meal.
100%.
Yeah.
And do you think would you say you were seeking for dopamine from each meal, kind of looking for a party in your mouth back then?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that was why I struggled with food in the past, is because it wasn't just about nourishing my body. It was like satisfying an emotional gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for admitting that, and thank you for being honest. But that will help a lot of people, because there is a lot of, and it sometimes takes a long time for people to get there. But once they get there and they just see the food is there to get you through your day is not revolving around food. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it should taste good, but it shouldn't be the most exciting part of your day. Mm-hmm. Once you can switch that mindset, that's where you get all your freedom back. That's where you start to see results. And that's where you're just like, oh, cool. I just eat because I'm going to eat my oats because I really like oats, but I'm not trying to turn it into a Biscoff overnight, cake thing. It's just oats with my protein powder and keep it super simple. And then you can put your mental capacity to other things like training and building, or, actually performance, or, pouring at work, whatever it may be, so.
Yeah. And I know there are so many different Instagram pages and recipes online that really know how to sexify up really basic dishes. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, what do you need in your body? and then sticking with that, and then any extras if you want to add it, cool, but don't overcomplicate it where it doesn't need to be.
And I will say, obviously, we have a recipe book and we're going to do a remake of one, but they are simple as hell recipes. It's literally just like a taco bowl. So you're putting taco mince and some lean beef mince and then that's intense. We're not turning it into a fucking lasagna or anything like that. It's literally just, hey, here's a beef stir fry, which is beef with, veggies and some noodles. Super simple stuff. It shouldn't be trying to turn, your oats, your breakfast into a cake, or trying to make the most. Like I saw one the other day and it was literally like, this is no joke, by the way. They had fluffed up, what they do, they got egg whites and they put in something with it and baking soda, and they whisked it up, they put them in a cupcake tray, they baked it, so they're just big fluff balls, and then they covered it in maple syrup, and in sugar-free maple syrup, and then put berries on there, and this whole big bowl is like 200 calories. I'm like, do you know how much that's going to fuck your stomach up, like volume-wise? Like, I would be gassy as hell from having all that. Like, and two, imagine if you had eaten that in prep, and then your like stomach's out here. I'm wondering why your weight's gone up half a kilo overnight. Like, do you know what I mean? And then it's just like, it's not necessary.
I don't know if I should say this on camera, but I'm going to say it anyway. I would probably just explosively shit myself.
That's the reel that we're going to use. That's the cut that we're going to use for our reel. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
In short, keep your food simple. You can make it taste good, like, chicken and rice, burrito bowl, all that sort of stuff, but it should be relatively simple either way. Cool. So, what's on the horizons now for T? What's on the horizon for the athlete's mindset? What's happening?
So, the athlete's mindset is getting a bit of a revamp, and we've got a lot of content coming out soon. We're really going to be focusing on post-comp. So we're putting together a workshop which going to run for season A for next year, which is very exciting. So we're going to putting together the content for that, and also updating content regularly on the page, on the socials, which is going to be really kind of science-based focused, psychology focused for lifters, and also just a really good knowledge in general to know. And then on the horizon for me personally, in terms of competing, I'm looking to compete for season A27, which is very exciting. So we're doing the build stage and we're just cracking through the build at the moment.
Very exciting. Very exciting. So for anyone who just missed that, anyone who is watching this who is interested in competing or just wants to learn a little bit more about it, wants to know more about the process, we'll be running our workshop for season 8 in 2027. More details will be coming out towards the end of the year.
Yes. So keep an eye out. We will likely be holding it prior to season A starting, or
so start of next year.
Start of next year. So we've got a bit of time, but more details to follow.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Well, thanks for coming, Queen.
Thank you.
And thanks for being the first person to admit that they would shit themselves on a podcast.
Anytime. Split my pants and shit myself.
All in one go.
I know. No, not at the same time. That would be horrendous.